Hi, I'm Florian, one of the co-founders of Fruit.
Hi, I'm Anton. I'm the research manager at Garden Organic. So we're here to talk about this exciting new partnership between Garden Organic and Fruit, who is an app developer for garden planning. So do you want to say a little bit about how it started up?
Yeah, we started the company about 6 years ago. The product has been launched about 4 years ago. And we launched it because we felt like we were in the exact same situation. We were just starting out growing our own food. I remember when I accompanied my parents in the garden, but couldn't remember all of the things that were necessary to grow my own food. So we really felt like there is a need for better education for people growing their own food and the skill and knowledge gap. So we tried to fill that gap ourselves and help people grow their own food.
That's great. I mean, I've had a quick look at the app and it is definitely one of the better sort of planning apps. So, I really did find it helpful. So it's a useful tool to be able to take out with you and when you can't carry a whole gardening encyclopedia with you as well. So what sort of features has this app got to help you plan your garden?
So as I said, it has a planting planner where you're able to create a plan for your personal vegetable garden. So figure out spacings and how much space a plant needs, what good companions they have and stuff like that. Then it creates a personalized to-do list, so a list of advice telling you what to do, when to do it, to get you from planning to successful harvest. It also has a community that is really vibrant and helpful. Lots of people asking questions to others, helping them out, answering questions, sharing the joy of growing and harvesting your own food. And as we just launched, it has the Fruit Lab, which is a citizen science space that we launched together with you guys. So I would like to take the chance of asking you, in your own words, what is citizen science and why are you as Garden Organic so dedicated to citizen science for gardeners?
So citizen science was really the bedrock of how Garden Organic formed. Lawrence Hills was our founder in the 1950s, and he was really keen to look at some of the science behind organic gardening. There was perhaps quite a lot of old wives' tales and myths and things, and he wanted to actually get some sort of hard scientific evidence. But there wasn't really much funding for this at the time. It was perhaps thought of as a bit of a sort of fringe activity. So he decided to set up sort of specific groups of researchers to actually do the work in their back garden. So the citizen science aspect was really getting the gardeners involved in the science. They were part of the process of generating it and learning it at the same time. And so, he had all these sort of interesting groups of people. Some of them were quite unusual at the start. He had some sort of groups. He was particularly keen on the comfrey plant. He was looking at the uses of that. But we also had some quite unusual ones. He had the freak plants group was something that he looked at because people were looking at radiation testing and the sort of effects on that. But he also did a lot on sort of soils and varieties as well. These experiments have been running for 70 years now. We've had a set of experiments done in people's back gardens every year. We've got hundreds and hundreds of experiments that have been done over the years. And that we really give people the opportunity perhaps to try out a new variety in their back garden and report on how well it's done. For example, we've had people try out novel crops such as the ochre crop, which is a nice little sort of tuber, but it doesn't get blight. So that's something that's very useful to organic gardeners. And they might do surveys as well of sort of pests and diseases, how well they spread around the garden. But part of it really is that the gardeners are actually learning from taking part as well. And I think having this Fruit app is just a great way to get more people involved, because it's always the dedicated people that sort of keep their records on the sheets of paper, and actually remembering to go out into the garden and do it is part of the battle, really. So I think having a nice app which reminds you to do it, and I've had a look at it, they make it a bit like a game as well. So that will encourage a whole new audience to get involved, perhaps get more younger people involved as well, because quite a lot of our audience tend to be over 50, so it'd be nice to get younger people engaged as well.
Me as I'm not a plant scientist or anything. You could get the feeling that growing plants should be so well researched. So why do you think it's still very important to have the citizen science around growing your own food and plants?
So yeah, you could say what more is there to research about plants? But I think particularly with our changing climate, there's always new challenges being brought. We're getting new pests involved. For example, we have a pest called allium leaf miner, which nobody had heard of 20 years ago, but it's actually spread from around the middle of this country, and it's almost spread around the whole country. And also the types of crops that we're going to be growing is changing. For example, in 2022, loads of people's runner bean crops failed because it was so hot that they just basically, it flowered, but no beans came out. And this is a crop that has always been like the most reliable thing that people can grow in their gardens. And I think it's quite likely that the same will have happened this year when we had a long, really dry period as well. And we're looking at perhaps new alternative crops. For example, we've got a crop called amaranth, which is grown a lot by Jamaican and Bangladeshi communities in this country, but actually it grows really well here. You get a lot of leafy veg off it. And actually we found it grew really well in Scotland as well, because it's a short season crop that grows very well in a place where you've got short summers and long days. So we get some unexpected and sort of new results as well from that work.
Well, I can definitely tell you that my beans didn't grow so well this year. Okay. And I heard from others, one of the key benefits of our community is that you can instantly see what others are doing and share your results and compare to others. So that's really nice to also back that up scientifically. Can you tell me about any other findings or things that you didn't expect? Things that came up through citizen science over the years?
So one of the key findings was there was a lot of work that was done on carrot root fly, and basically they tried everything. They tried all sorts of quite unusual things as well. I think one of the things that people looked at was whether the smell of leather put off this pest. This is a pest that makes sort of lots of holes in your carrots. And after lots of experiments, they found actually that the carrot root fly doesn't fly above 60 centimeters. So you could put a barrier around your crops. And this is something that's actually in sort of gardening textbooks now, but that was something that was formed through our members' experiments that were done. So perhaps one unexpected one was a few years ago, we tried growing field beans as an alternative to broad beans. And actually we found that they yielded much higher than broad beans. That was something that I didn't expect the difference to be so much. And that is something that's grown a lot as a commercial crop here, but not grown in gardens so much. But they are really, really tasty. It's something, and they are more resilient over the winter as well. So it's something that would grow quite well here.
We've been talking about a lack of certain gardening skills before, and this is something that is one of the key reasons that we founded Fruit, to educate people around growing their own food. But I was wondering, what experience do you have as you're also teaching people on how to grow? What do you feel people are lacking these days?
I think often it's lacking confidence. People are often afraid of failure. I always tell people, just have a go, plant something. The worst that can happen is a plant dies. You're not doing brain surgery or flying a plane. But also perhaps people just don't know where to start as well. You've got such a wide choice of vegetables. It's like kids in a sweet shop. They just don't know what to start with. So I think the Food Lab is really good because it gives people sort of an idea of, you've got this tailored plan that you can start off with. You could start off with something simple if you've got a small backyard, just sort of 5 or 6 things. but just giving people a nudge in the right direction, and perhaps also shared experiences as well. I think that's being part of a community is a really important thing. So you might find, well, if I failed with my beans this year, it wasn't because I'm no good at growing, it's because everybody else had trouble as well because of the weather. So yeah, I think the sense of community and giving people a bit of a sort of sense of where to start, really.
I know, and you've told us that you've been doing citizen science for like 70 years or even more than that. Why do you feel like now is the right time to move to the digital space and collaborate with us as an app or a digital platform for gardeners? Why is now the right time?
I think just because so many more people are using digital devices. I mean, we've gone part of the way. I mean, when I first came here, virtually everybody posted their results in, like they came in a big pile of envelopes and written on bits of paper. And I still get some people who want to do that. When probably at least 10, 15 years ago, we started having it entered online, and I would say the majority of people do now enter it online. But having it as an app, I think, is one step further. You've got you sort of perhaps own that set of data in a way as well. You've got it on your phone, and you've got a record, and you've got reminders as well. I think that really is a big thing, because people all start out with good intentions, but remembering to go and look at your plants and see whether they flowered or not is another thing when you've got a busy life.
I remember you told us that 2024, so I live in Germany, which is a bit different than here, but I think not too different. But you told us that 2024 was the year of the slug in the UK. Can you tell us a bit about what happened and why do you think that happened? So what was the weather like in 24?
So what's happened in the UK is we've had increasingly mild winters, whereas there used to be sort of cold weather which would kill off the slugs. We tend to end up with both sort of very damp and warm winters, which is just ideal conditions. They just carry on breeding. And then that was followed by sort of more wet weather. So it was just ideal conditions for the slug. It's not been nearly so much of a problem in 2025 because we had a long dry spell. But last year, as one of our citizen science experiments, we tried out a plant called achocha, which is a South American cucumber. And it's quite novel to us, but it's grown a lot in the Andes. And they basically, it's a slightly spiny cucumber, and you can fry it when it gets bigger, and it has a bit of a taste like a pepper. So I think it's quite a good sort of substitute for glasshouse grown crops. But virtually everybody found that this thing wasn't attacked by slugs. Like virtually everything else had been decimated, but this crop seemed really resilient. So looking for things which slugs don't like as well, I think, is quite an important thing.
I was wondering about this year. So how do you feel like this growing season has been for growers in Britain or even beyond Britain?
So it's been quite a mixed bag, really. There was a long, very, very dry period, and I think a lot of people, they just could not water enough. So the yields then have been really considerably down, particularly with the field crops like the beans. They also, with the dry conditions, a lot of the brassica crops are really heavily infested with aphids. And aphids is a funny one. I think you need to hold your nerve, because up until about July, they look like they're going to destroy the plants. Whereas in this country, in July, for some reason, and we still don't really understand it, the aphid population absolutely crashes. And we think this is mainly caused by predatory insects. There's a small wasp that destroys them. There's hoverflies as well. And there are also things like fungi which attack the aphids as well. So the numbers really go down in July, and they haven't really returned in big numbers. So if you can hope, and the plants have just recovered. You can look outside, we've got a really nice I can see them from here, really nice crop of Brussels sprouts out there, whereas those plants look like they were at death's door about a couple of months ago. I think also a lot of the glasshouse crops did quite well if you were able to water them a lot. I had nice crops of tomatoes and cucumbers and things like that. But it was early season watering was, you might think you're putting water onto the soil, but then you scrape the top layer off and it's still quite totally dry underneath. You just don't have the facilities to put on enough.
In Germany, where I live, in southern Germany, we had like a really moist July. It was cold and rained a lot, so lots of plants that typically grow well, like tomatoes, peppers, didn't do so well this year. So I think it's going to be interesting to compare the results in different regions of Europe and maybe even other parts of the world. Can you tell me a little bit more about the current survey we're doing together? How did your vegetables grow in 2025? So what kind of outcome can people expect from that survey? What kind of learnings? So why do you do it in the first place?
Yeah, it's still early days for the results coming in, but the way we do the survey is we've been running, this will be the 4th year that we've run it, which is good. We're sort of building up a good bank of regional data. And we have 10 sort of standard crops. And it's a very quick survey to fill out. They basically put it on a scale of 1 to 5 from sort of absolute failure to the sort of best crop ever or somewhere in between. And from that, we can just build up this nice sort of traffic light sort of indicator for all these crops. But also the comments are really, really useful because gardeners always like to tell you about their garden, whether you want to know or not. And so we can, although it does seem like a sort of rambling load of comments, we can actually, we can sort of analyze those. We can say sort of how many people mention the word slug and things like that. We can actually do some sort of data analysis on those comments as well.
So it's early November now. When can we expect first results or first learnings, and when do you feel like you have final results for the whole survey?
So in past years, we've turned it around. So by the new year, we're able to sort of give people quite a nice sort of outcome from there, because it's nice to keep it fresh in people's minds as well. We don't want it to be a sort of historical sort of thing from 6 months ago.
And like me as a private person growing their own food, what can I expect to take away from the results? Like, what would it enable me to do or learn?
So it helped you to learn sort of which crops did well under certain sort of situations. That's what we've found has been really useful from it. So, and I think there'll also be the longer term trends as well. So, but immediately, yeah, it's sort of, well, this crop really didn't do well under a dry summer, and perhaps you should really be trying something else. I think the main thing is we haven't got a crystal ball for the weather, so the best thing is to grow a mixture of crops. Diversity is always key.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anton. I really appreciated talking to you, and looking forward to everything that is to come for next year.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I look forward to working together.